I am under no illusions about what we face with the Conservatives under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. In the last Parliament, Mr. Poilievre's approach was far from responsible.
In 6 months, Mark Carney and the Liberals have further wrecked the economy, chased out billions of dollars, turned housing into a taxpayer-funded grift. You really just don't get that level of honesty from media these days. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, follow, and comment your thoughts down below. Share this video as well. And the Liberals, wow, oh wow, did they ever have a wild opening statement before getting back to work today? Because nothing says stable government like reality is mean.
My sense is, Rosemary, the lyrics may have changed a little bit, but the music has stayed the same from Mr. Poilievre. I talk to Conservative MPs. They tell me their constituents want a more collaborative tone. They tell me their constituents expect them to put their shoulder to the wheel alongside the government. I've spoken to Mr. Scheer and obviously outstretched the hand of collaboration. We'll work with them on legislation.
Yeah, but it is their job to hold you to account. That is their first job, first and foremost. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I think what Canadians object to is the tone. And look, thinking that a bad day for the government in the House of Commons is a good day for the opposition is not a healthy place to be in. Constructive criticism, obviously. But I think what you're seeing is some Conservative MPs, certainly their constituents, chafing against this idea that three-word slogans and a lot of toxicity is what constitutes a healthy opposition in this Parliament. I think Canadians are looking for better from all parties in the House. We're certainly going to be proposing some solutions. We hope we have Conservative support and working on them.
It is the oldest play in the politics book. When you can't defend your record, you attack your critic's tone. And I just have to say, it is so funny to me to hear MacKinnon, who says multiple times, and we'll get through more of them, about the three-word slogans. Oh, Pierre Poilievre is just a sloganeer. Remember how much that talking point was regurgitated on social media and through people in this hive mind groupthink during the election campaign? Oh, he's just a slogan man, which is like, bro, have you ever used your brain? Do you not realize that slogans work, for one? And secondly, Liberals use slogans to build Canada homes. Just as a very recent example, one that Mark Carney is talking about right now. Or, I don't know, Canada strong, Canada sovereign. That's a slogan. Yeah, so is net zero by 2050.
Here are some of the highlights.
We canceled the consumer carbon tax, bringing down gas prices for Canadians.
Oh my gosh, you guys canceled the consumer carbon tax. Was that out of your own volition, or was that thanks to Axe the tax? Which is so funny because, you know, they can sneer all they want at, oh, the slogan man over here. But at the end of the day, Poilievre's slogans have worked. In fact, they've driven the narrative to the point where, as much as they want to say we canceled the carbon tax because we really wanted to, that's why we introduced it in the first place, was because we thought it was really dumb and we were going to cancel it in a few years. After screaming at you for how stupid you were for thinking that the carbon tax was bad and it was actually just a total grift that was just fueling our friends' pockets and our pockets. Yeah, it's because we thought it was so stupid. That's why Mark Carney wrote his entire book, Values. That's why he's the baby daddy of carbon tax, because he thinks it's really dumb, guys, and it was going to be canceled, obviously, duh. It had nothing to do with facts over feelings.
Three-word slogans so far, and a lot of angry rhetoric.
You know, that is just so rich when Mark Carney himself has a history of snapping at reporters, being condescending, being totally out of touch. And how could you blame him when he has the kind of money and lifestyle that he does? What Stephen MacKinnon is actually doing there, and I imagine we're going to see a lot more of this during question periods, is they are trying to gaslight Canadians into thinking that your outrage is the problem. If you're angry, you're the problem, not their results. When in reality, what they're hiding is that housing is unaffordable, youth unemployment is sky high, investment is fleeing the country, crime is surging, taxes are up, and Canada is really falling apart by every measurable standard, as even reported on global reports that are coming out. And they just want you to sit back and smile politely as it happens. And it lends to that old adage of, I'm a liberal because I'm a good person, and I'm a good person because I'm a liberal. Calling that out is not getting angry. It's living in reality, and it's called paying attention.
Promised elbows up, and where did the elbows go from there? The elbows are down. He has backed down again and again and got absolutely nothing in return. This was after he promised that he would negotiate a win with the Americans and have a deal by July 21st. Here we are, the middle of September, no deal. And the tariffs, the American tariffs on Canada have doubled since the Prime Minister took office, promising that he could, quote, handle Trump. That's not what Canadians voted for. He said he would spend less. And yet his deficit spending looks to be 100% bigger than what Justin Trudeau left behind.
My gosh, and you just cannot get any accountability out of these people. Mark Carney was actually speaking with the press just a few days ago where he was asked about what is, quote unquote, a substantially larger deficit than what Justin Trudeau had. And it really is fascinating to watch him tumble over who's to blame for this. Because if you want to play the nose game, hey, Mark Carney, you silly guy, you take your finger off your nose. You know better. Come on. And even more ludicrous is the fact that if Canada was in wonderful financial shape, they would be taking all of the credit. They would say, this is all because of us. Yeah, we're so awesome. Re-elect us. But then when it's not doing good, they say, well, it's everybody's fault but ours. Trust me on that one, okay? You can't have it both ways, my guy.
And just on the upcoming budget, your House leader said this morning that the deficit will be, quote, substantial. How big are we talking, and what does that mean for future cuts?
Substantial means that it'll be bigger than it was last year. I mean, the actual level will come out with the budget. But let's look at what's driving that. First and foremost, it's the tariff war, the shock that's created by that, the rupture. So you have the impact of that. Secondly, you have the response of Canada to that, which is very clear. We want to protect our industries and workers in the most affected sectors, and we want to build. So we're going aggressively on building the future, taking control of our destiny. Make no apologies for that. That ensures that we don't have this situation again in the future. We are laser focused on making life more affordable for Canadians. First thing we did, cut the consumer carbon tax. First thing we did when we came back after the general election, cut middle class tax cut, GST cut for first time home buyers. Build Canada Homes is all about affordability while driving a new industry. So yes, there's going to be implications for the deficit, but it'll build a much stronger Canada going forward.
I just don't understand how people aren't waking up to this loop, because it is the exact same scam. It is the exact same liberal, neoliberal, far left, edging on socialism. That is their mindset. You know, we saw it with Justin Trudeau. Oh, we're going to run modest deficits to build a stronger middle class. And how is that working out for us right now? Because the last time I checked, there's actually one of the largest gaps between the elite, the super rich in Canada, the middle class, and people in the poverty line. In fact, the middle class is being edged even closer to that poverty line with more and more Canadians, with every statistic coming out, who are now declared low income. Carney's doing it right now. We're going to run massive deficits, but we're going to build a stronger Canada. And of course, it's always framed as an investment, not debt.
Minister of Housing and I are proud to launch Build Canada Homes, a new federal entity that will supercharge housing construction across Canada. Build Canada Homes will do several things. It will help fight homelessness by building transitional and supportive housing in close partnership with provinces, territories, municipalities, and Indigenous communities. Secondly, it will expand deeply affordable and community housing for low-income households. These are all important. Third, Build Canada Homes will partner with private sector developers to build affordable homes for the Canadian middle class. Build Canada Homes, in doing all of that, will catalyze the creation of an entirely new Canadian housing industry that uses modern methods of construction to boost productivity sustainably and at scale.
And just so you know, what I'm about to say is not radical, it's not far right, it's called knowing history and understanding things. Because what Mark Carney is proposing here, what he is doing is not housing policy. It is a massive ideological shift towards a state-controlled housing economy, one which absolutely carries socialist and even communist hallmarks. And here's a point that everybody cheering it on seems to forget, which is that Mark Carney says, according to this Global News article, 4,000 of these homes will be on federal land. And that changes absolutely everything if you thought about this being a really good thing. Land ownership is freedom. That is what all of our ancestors, many of our ancestors, came to the United States of America, came to Canada to have, to own land. That is the real lasting value of being a homeowner. You typically don't actually own the land that the structure is upon. You only own the structure. That means that the Crown, aka the government, still owns the land underneath your house. That means that they could absolutely reclaim it, develop it, impose new conditions whenever the heck that they want. That means you can't sell the land, only the structure on it, and that you're restricted by government rules on what you can build, renovate, or do. Your property value is then capped or unstable because you don't actually own the thing that appreciates, which is the land. And most wealth from home ownership comes from land appreciation. So Carney's plan cuts that out completely. And the part of this that makes me so scared, and just like I want to scream at anybody cheering this on, is that it creates a permanent state of government-dependent tenants, not real homeowners, not real freedom. And if there is anything at all that you can do to help me, to help this country, to break the grip that the liberal establishment has on the Canadian media, the people who lie, mislead, and manipulate these things to the public, who just think it's a great thing because they're helping homeless people. Oh yeah, we're helping homeless people do what? They were actually freer in a tent instead of being completely dependent on the government, by the way. The fact that Ottawa, Mark Carney has announced that Build Canada Homes is going to use $13 billion of your taxpayer money to help them with this. So let's let that sink in for a second. They're spending $13 billion of your money to build their homes that you will never own on their land that is not yours, and letting you pay them for the privilege of living there.
He said there would be more investment. Remember that? Spend less, invest more. $62 billion of net investment has left since he became prime minister in what the National Bank says is the biggest net outflow of investment in any 5-month period in Canadian history. He promised that after 10 years of Liberal government driving up costs and crime and chaos, that he would be different. And yet, sadly, everything is worse. Unemployment is worse. The cost of living is worse. Home building is worse. Divisions are worse. The tariffs are worse. Crime is worse. Immigration is worse. That is not what Canadians voted for. What we are getting from Mark Carney is the same liberal bait and switch. Say one thing and do the opposite.
They demand because they need more money to fix the mess that they made, not by getting out of the way, but by expanding subsidies, centralizing control, and doubling down on the exact same policies that caused all of this damage in the first place. And this logic is so absolutely absurd to anybody who even so much as wonders what it would be like to use my brain and critical thinking today on this one. Because if big deficits build a stronger Canada due to all of that wonderful investing that they're doing, we would be thriving by now. We're not. We're doing quite the opposite. And if tariffs are the excuse, well, then why is the U.S. and other nations still booming while Canada, that's funny, while Canada is flatlining all across the board? Of course, tariffs did suck. They did disrupt some sectors, but not to the degree, and business people have even said that. They've publicly said that Canada's own regulations, Canada's own policies has hurt them and crippled them more than Trump's tariffs ever did and ever could at this rate. And that reality is one that they refuse to discuss. They refuse to take accountability for. They refuse to admit, and the media omits these details as well, time and time again. And just listen to how easy it is for them to lie through their teeth and rewrite history so that you aren't focusing on that, so that their base, which is very loud and vitriolic and comes in hordes and bots, can do everything they can to take away from the truth and have you focus on nonsense.
I am under no illusions about what we face with the Conservatives under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. In the last Parliament, Mr. Poilievre's approach was far from responsible. In fact, he shut down Parliament for weeks on end last fall, as I'm sure you all remember. He thought, and hopefully no longer thinks, a bad day for the government was a good day for the opposition.
For such a new Liberal government, it really is a damn shame that nothing has changed, because it's not new. It's the exact same players. Just one of them, who was previously in the shadows, is now the leader. And I just can't even get past that, you know, trying to paint the Conservatives as cheering for chaos, trying to paint the Conservatives as shutting down Parliament. Nope, actually, that was you, my dear. That was you after the Green Slush Fund scandal, the words of which you can't even utter out loud. I don't know who it was that advised Stephen MacKinnon to bring that up again, as though it was a good idea, because that was really frickin' stupid. You see, while the Liberals have spent the last couple of months stealing from taxpayers, jet-setting all around the globe for absolutely no reason, and staging photo ops like this is some kind of pageantry, Conservatives, we have been hungry. We have been researching. We have been fact-checking every single word you say, every single statistic you bring up, and we have been getting every single duck in a row. Because the truth is, I don't particularly care anymore how much you want to villainize me or call me names. Oh my gosh, all of that angry rhetoric. We are done tolerating this. And just a little friendly reminder, new Stephen MacKinnon and this new government, the Green Slush Fund scandal, the SDTC fund, yeah, that was actually you guys, as proven by the ethics commissioner as well as the auditor general who shut down the House, not the Conservatives. The Conservatives, you see, were actually working for Canadians after upwards of $400 million mysteriously vanished into your friends' pockets. Yeah, that's what happened, because the Auditor General found millions, hundreds of millions in inappropriate contracts, conflicts of interest, ethics violations, and worse, ineligible projects were given millions of dollars when they didn't even meet the criteria. Weird how that happens, hey? And what happened in Parliament was that the Conservatives demanded the documents be released so that the RCMP could start an investigation, because what you did was treasonous. And the Liberals refused to comply with that House order. And then the Speaker of the House ruled that that was a breach of privilege, which under such rules means that all other business must be halted until it is resolved. And, you know, Parliament ground to a halt because the Liberals refused to be honest. The Liberals knew that they screwed up and they finally got caught. They defied the rules. That wasn't because Pierre Poilievre wanted chaos, and you're an idiot for trying to bring that up again. So if you think that you can lie, manipulate, steal, and gaslight Canadians into believing that holding a corrupt government accountable is somehow toxic, you're about to learn what real accountability looks like. And every single time you so much as utter the words that a Conservative is a threat to democracy, for lack of better words, what we all learned in grade school is that whoever smelt it dealt it, my friend.
Freedom of speech is the cornerstone of a free society. It means we will hear ideas that we disagree with and express views that may be offensive. This freedom can make us uncomfortable or even hurt, but silencing voices, whether for a moment or forever, is never the answer. We must protect a society where people can hold beliefs and share opinions without fear of losing their jobs, being censored, or worse. Charlie Kirk was an outspoken advocate for faith, family, and freedom. Many disagreed with him, some were offended. Tragically, on September 10th, he was assassinated in an attempt to silence his voice. But when has political violence ever been the solution? It destroys dialogue, it undermines democracy, and it breeds fear instead of understanding. True progress comes from persuasion, not intimidation. As we grapple with our personal response to this, may we be honorable in our actions. May we fiercely defend the right of our opponents to speak freely. And may we join our hearts with Charlie's family, his wife Erica, and his 2 young children. Rest in peace.
Controlling dissent, controlling the narrative is something that the Canadian government has done all too well. And we have seen so many examples of that have turned even deniers into absolute believers of what's really going on here. And now Mark Carney's Liberal government wants to create 3 new hate-related criminal code offenses, those being willful intimidation, where they will make it illegal to intimidate someone, to stop them from accessing places used by identifiable groups, community centers, schools, churches, mosques, that sort of thing. Obstruction, where they will now criminalize blocking or obstructing access to those places. And also a standalone hate offense, which will let the police layer a hate charge onto any other offense if they believe that it was motivated by hate. And as much as they want to say, oh, this is just about protecting people and creating a safer, happier society, what they have actually built is a speech-adjacent legal weapon that lets the government decide what's hateful, and then they punish you harder, depending on whatever that decision is. And the thing about these laws, this legislation, when stuff like this is introduced, is it's always subjective and very vague by design. Intimidation and obstruction, open to interpretation, right? Especially at protests, political rallies, that sort of thing. A standalone hate offense, well, that is just purely a thought crime, and it punishes why they think you committed an act, not what you did. And it lets the government criminalize their assumed motive, not just behavior. And it gives Ottawa the power to brand political dissent as hate. And this really does tie into the bigger pattern here, very scary pattern, because they just accused Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives of having an angry tone, toxicity, for holding them accountable. They want Canadians to believe that criticism is dangerous, and now they're writing laws to treat criticism as criminal if they decide that it's hateful. Now, of course, there's obviously real-life examples of that where the rule of law should be applied, and it never is. Funny enough, isn't that just interesting? So tone policing has now just become criminalizing tone, criminalizing assumed intent. And of course, they'll always wrap it up in compassion so that you can't question it, while they use it to shield their corruption and crush dissent. You know what's crazy, though? Happy people with meaning and purpose in their lives, people with food on the table, a home of their own, or one that they can reasonably get in the future, money in the bank, a vacation to look forward to, a family who loves you, children who you're excited to see and live for every single day. People like that don't usually do bad things. They don't riot, they don't lash out, they don't want to burn down a system because they have something to lose, and more importantly, they have something to live for. Bad things happen when people's needs aren't met, when they're backed into corners, when they're stripped of hope, when they're stripped of their dignity. And if you look throughout history, that pattern is just so painfully obvious. And instead of improving our quality of life, instead of giving people something to lose, the government wants to arrest you, shame you, criticize you for noticing, for paying attention, and for saying out loud what everybody else can see. It is an absolute shame that we have gotten to that place here in Canada, that the United States has gotten to that place, that France, Germany, the UK, all of these nations, funny enough, Western nations, who got to that place through liberal governments. It's so weird how that always seems to be the common denominator. But unfortunately, that is the reality. And that's why we're here. That's why you're watching this right now, to make sure that you're brushed up so that you can do something to fix it, because the power of the people should never, ever be forgotten or underestimated. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, follow, and comment your thoughts down below. As always, share this video as well so we can help open the eyes of as many people as humanly possible. I'll talk to you tomorrow.